What's up, guys? It's your girl, Keri Hilson, and you know I got soul.
All right, so Keri, I'm gonna start off with this because we ask all artists that come on here this question. What's a song in your catalog that when you look back at, and it doesn't have to be about chart success or awards or anything, but just a song you look back at and you're just like, yeah, like that's the one. Like I'm proud of that one.
I'm proud of a lot that I do. It's an easier question is what am I not that proud of? I'm just kidding. I'm proud of like Knock You Down and Pretty Girl Rock.
Mhm.
Um, I'm proud of everything that has released, just almost everything that has ever released. Because I put, a lot into my craft. So I would say those two. I think those two. Obviously, they were two of the more successful records of mine.
Right. It's crazy because I was listening to Tell 'Em the Truth recently, and there's this one line that always like stuck out to me. It was like, I feel less than nothing, lower than zero. Like
Mm.
that line is like that's a special line right there.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a true story. Um, I honestly do. I'm also proud of like my album cuts because
Mhm.
those were um they tend to be more from the heart than
Right.
things that get chosen by labels as your single.
Mhm.
The album cuts, the deep cuts are ones that I personally appreciate. So if I'm answering that non unpolitically correct, then I would say the Tell Them the Truths, the Intuitions,
Yeah.
I even love Alienated and Make
Yes.
Love, and just different album cuts and
Yeah.
and interludes and things like that. Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
the heart really is for any artist.
Yeah, a lot of great songs in that catalog. But Carrie,
Mhm.
let's fast forward here. I was just talking to you before the call. I met you in Seattle, and at that time you were doing spot dates, you were doing shows here and there. And that's
Yeah.
when I thought, okay, Carrie's coming back with new music. And then the pandemic hits and you make this shift, you kind of pivot towards the acting world. Like just talk about that transition and how that all took place.
Oh, it wasn't really even on purpose. I was sitting down just like every other artist. The touring stopped, doing shows and walkthroughs all stopped. I was sitting down. I have always kind of auditioned and I've done films before. I think uh, maybe four or five before the pandemic, and so just started getting calls like, "Hey, are you interested in auditioning for this, or are you interested in doing?" Some were auditions and some were offers, and it became something to do. But I'm also passionately driven by being a
Mhm.
student of things,
Yeah.
of new crafts, and so it was a welcomed turn, I think, for me to be able to hit pause on reality for a while and be
Right.
in this alternate universe and be someone else for a moment, step out of my skin and out of the grieving process. I had lost my father earlier that year,
Right.
and so it was a welcomed break again from reality.
I'll tell you what's amazing, and I gotta give you so much props for it, is most people in life, they probably find one thing that they're passionate about, and if they're lucky, they can turn it into a career, which you've done with music, but to find a second passion and to be willing to put in the work,
Mhm.
to have people tell you, "Carrie, you gotta do that over again," and just to be a student and start from ground zero, like, is
Mm.
that a lot of fun for you?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. I have a great sense of accomplishment for being able to now explore fully another gift or another uh, hobby or passion, whatever it is you refer to it as. But for
Yeah.
me, it was just another dream. And I have a great sense of accomplishment that I'm able to, or that I was willing and able to heed the call to the acting world. It's very fulfilling for me.
Yeah, because I mean, it's as simple for you, like, because you put in those 10,000 hours into songwriting, that's something you could
Mhm.
easily go back into, but to be
Yes.
uncomfortable, to try to figure it out, like, that's pretty cool.
Exactly, exactly. I love throwing myself into scenarios that force me to be a student.
Yep.
So this is cool in that way.
Yeah. Carrie, I'm kinda curious about your journey, not only as an actress, but as a songwriter, because I imagine your journey as a songwriter kind of helped mold your work ethic and just how you approach this acting thing. So kind of just take me back to your journey as a songwriter and as an artist and what kind of stands out to you now as an actress that has kind of helped you with this journey.
Ah, let's see, work ethic, songwriting, acting. There's such completely different worlds. But I know that I think the similarities that I would see right offhand are just, showing up early, making sure that you're prepared.
Mhm.
You never show up to a session, especially with the artist there or for an artist, without having things written and arranged, even if it's just in your head.
Yeah.
Um, so that preparation, I think, is very important. It's the same with acting. You don't show up on set without knowing your lines, and being well rehearsed, because you're gonna get curveballs
Right.
in either process. Curveballs are gonna happen. So you really just want to be fireproof, and
Right.
I think that's the biggest similarity between anything you're doing. It honestly ventures outside of just music and acting. That really goes for any job. You want to be fireproof, be prepared, put in the extra time and extra work, not only to be impressive to others, but to be respected.
Right. And I mean, as an artist early on, I'm sure you exercised a lot of patience, and I'm pretty sure your patience is like on another level now because you were grinding for so many years.
So
Uh
long, yeah.
yeah, I mean just talk about like cuz I also know when you're in your early 20s and you're developing your career, like the patience is, like, probably unrealistic for most people, like, you're just trying to get it, and a lot of times you're probably working harder than you are versus working smarter. Have you kinda changed
Mm.
that approach with acting now?
Oh man, you just took me back to a period of time in my life where I was in college and I
Mhm.
was doing 3 or 4 sessions a day.
Right, yep.
And I remembered when I flipped my car 4 wheels up. I
Mm,
fell asleep at the wheel one day, woke up in the middle of a huge, busy intersection.
right.
Um, and it was that day when I was in the hospital that I realized it's about quality over
Mm,
quantity. And that's exactly how I am approaching my acting career. I don't want to be in every single thing. I don't say yes to every offer or every audition. I'm very, very, and that's, you know, indicative of the fact that this film is it's produced by TD Jakes,
yep.
and it's a very responsible piece. And that was one of the qualities about it that I loved. It was very redeeming film. When I read the script, I was like, this is something that I want to be a part of. And that's a feeling that I always want to have, no matter what it is I'm saying yes to.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like, I watched a couple of clips from the new movie Lust, and, like, you're
Mhm.
acting in it. It's not like they're just throwing an artist in there and telling her that she has a role, like,
Yeah.
you're acting, and that's like,
Yeah.
that lets me know that, yeah, you're serious about this.
Yeah, I am. And honestly, this was the first opportunity where I felt that way. Like, okay, this is going to require emotions and
Mhm.
tears and fears and things to surface within me that you can't fake. People will know, and so I had to really dig to authentically give that kind of performance here. Now, there was a film before it called Don't Waste Your Pretty, and
Yep.
yeah, there were some challenges, but this was like the first most challenging role that I had ever done. So I'm really proud of my performance. I can't
Yeah.
wait to see it. I haven't seen it yet,
Mhm.
just some clips. But I look forward to seeing how I've grown in the craft, and I continue. I'm going to study myself and continue to grow.
Alright. It's funny
But
you
thank you,
mentioned that.
thank you.
No, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that, like, I interviewed Neil a couple years back when he was, doing movies, and he said the one difference between making music and filming is that you don't get that instant gratification after you record a song, going home, listening to it 1,000 times. You don't get that. Like you just mentioned, you haven't even seen the
True.
movie yet. Like, how do you kinda manage that? Because like, there's that, but then there's also music as therapy. You're able to release all your emotions into that filming, and
Mhm.
acting is a little different. So how are you managing all of this?
You just gotta, surrender and hope that the editing is favorable.
Right.
You just have to surrender. You can't see it. You can't,
Right.
you leave it all on the line. The process is the same. It's just the wait can be 9 months, 12 months, until you're able to see it. So you got to leave it all on the floor.
Mm. And
Mhm.
talk about the structure of being in the studio versus being on set. Because in the studio, you're sitting there, there's pretty much no structure. You're doing whatever you can to come up with a song. On set, you have a director that's kind of guiding you through it.
Yeah.
Is there has that been a challenge for you to have to take instructions from people?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. I take instruction very well.
Okay.
That's one of the things. I just wrapped another project, and she was like, "You,
Mm.
you adjust to the smallest level of verbalization." I guess that it might not be a word, but when she's giving me verbal cues as far as what it is she needs to me to adjust, she's like, "You adjust so well." So
Mm.
she started playing with that, like, "Okay, let's try one like this. Let's try one like this." And I would go with it, and she's like, I just can't. I've never seen that. I've never seen someone adjust so well, and such drastic differences in choices that we're giving you." So uh yeah, but in general, yes, there's a lot of structure to filmmaking.
Yeah.
You've got your producers, you've got scripty on set, you've got, rigid time constraints to get things all out. Like literally, if you're crying, you gotta, if you're crying in a scene, you gotta reset back to happy and joyful, whatever. Like they're doing your makeup, and you've got to get your mind back there to go
Right.
back deep and then back light and then back deep. And you're doing that 30, 40 times
Mhm.
just for one scene or a piece of a scene sometimes.
Yep.
So it's I love having the structure because it allows you to know what to expect.
Yeah.
You can kind of think ahead. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at for today. Here's my schedule. Here's what scenes are up. Here's what I've got to do in them. Uh, Let me get some rehearsal in. Let me, I like, and when you're younger, you can go with
Yeah.
things. You can go with the lack of structure a lot easier. But the
Yep.
older you get, the longer you've been in this industry, structure is something that becomes desirable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because time is important, and nobody wants to be
Hmm.
wasting their time, so it's cool. So, Carrie,
Exactly.
what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna list out a couple of different times for you just in your career, and I'm curious what your goals were then, and also what
Mm.
your goals are now as an actress. So, I'm gonna start off early on a young Keri Hilson getting into the music industry. Like, what were your goals then?
Um, my goals were just to make art profitable,
Mm,
get out of the hobby phase,
yeah.
and make a living. And my honestly, if I could one line that,
Yeah.
it would be my goal was to not be at a desk. My
Mm,
goal was to not have to sit at a desk. And I worked at a mortgage company, and boy, I mean, he may be watching this one day, but I hated that job. It was so mundane. You know, I, I became a waitress after that, and I was like, okay, this is a little more comfortable.
right.
But yeah, I wanted to make music a living. That was my one dream. Yeah.
Okay. And then what about when you started dropping albums? Did that goal kind of shift? Was it still the same goal? Because you had already made it at that point.
Yeah, and I had profited quite largely
Yep.
from the industry. So yes, that was part of my goal, was to keep that going, to never have to go back to a cubicle.
Yep.
But then it became, now I want to like be at the top of the game.
Right.
I want to be considered among the greats. I want my name to be remembered. I want my likeness to be remembered as well. I want to create. It became more about legacy then.
Yeah. I mean, because I'll tell you this, and I'm gonna ask about the acting goals shortly, but I'm
Mhm.
gonna tell you this from a musical standpoint. I'm
Okay.
on record to saying you're one of the most important artists of that generation because when I look back at like everything you had your hand in, whether it was from the songwriting or from your own music, like there's only a handful that I can think of that are in that same caliber as you. So I think you accomplish your goals and more just from a musical standpoint.
I absolutely feel like I accomplished my goals and more. But it was really just that self-fulfillment. But thank you for that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So what are the goals when it comes to film and acting? Are you looking at awards? Like, because you've already had the awards in music, like what is the goal here?
Um, that would be nice,
Yeah.
but my truest goal is really just to get good at
Mm.
it. That's the most honest answer I could give, is just to grow in the craft, to improve with every project, to dig in and use the discipline that I have, um, to push boundaries. You know, part of what you do as an actor is emotional, it's
Mhm.
psychological. Um, and going different places in your mind, your heart, your emotional field, your pain, you're exploring. And I just want to continue to explore and allow myself to be more and more and more and more vulnerable.
Right.
That's my goal right now. Right now, that's what it is. Yeah.
That's amazing, and I'm curious to see what other roles you take part in the future, because that's
Yeah.
gonna be fun just to explore and try different things.
Absolutely. I've done great ones so far. The one, there's one that comes out in theaters later this year, and you would never expect me to be doing that.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah, got
That's a
some. I've been lucky. I've been
yeah.
lucky so far.
For sure. So, Carrie, I can't leave this interview without asking you about new music, and I'm not going to ask you when it's coming out because,
Thank you.
as a fan of yours, like I like that element of surprise. Like I'm willing to wait, and I think there has to be some
Ah,
mystique to the music. But I'm going to ask you this: in a perfect world, no pun intended, uh, can you imagine a life where music and acting kind of go simultaneously? Because I know as an artist, like you were one of the ones that actually promoted your music, like music actually meant something, and you're not just gonna
mhm,
throw out music out there, or else you would have done that for the last 10 years. But I mean, just
exactly.
talk about your approach.
Yeah. If I were ever in this for money or attention or popularity or relevance,
Mhm.
I would have approached a lot of things very differently. But I
Yeah,
think my you are alluding to something that's very accurate, is that I am a true artist who cares. You know, I care about the quality of things that I do. I care about the framework for which I am releasing something to the world. Everything I do just has to be authentic and genuine. And I can imagine a world where both exist.
yeah,
I think it would be better though, um, for each craft, if I separated them,
right.
only because acting really does take a lot out of you,
I'm sure
and
it
music
does.
does
Yeah.
too. You
Yep.
know, music does as well. And people might look at it like, oh, you can do it at the same time, but you know, my goals are different than to just stack the cards. You know, my goals are different. My goals are really to I'm competitive as well as I am artistic, you know,
Right.
and I want it to be great. I want to have excellent traits and excellent characteristics that allow me to be not only self-fulfilled, but greatness. You know,
Yeah.
that's what drives me,
Yeah.
is being great at it, and being as creative and vulnerable as I can through my arts. So I think if we're talking about putting out music and films that Keri can be really proud of, then I
Yeah.
think they should maybe happen in their own separate times.
Right. That makes
Mhm.
perfect sense. And, I hope people support you no matter what you do because I think right now you're doing an amazing thing. Lust is out very soon. Can't wait to
Yeah.
catch that. Anything you'd like to add, Carrie?
Yeah, just check that out. It comes out Saturday. I'm really honored that people are responding the way they have. Some people have been sent the film to preview, and it's getting great reviews. TD Jakes is so proud of it. So I'm just really honored to be a part of this film. I'm honored to be digging into a new craft, really, really digging in, getting my teeth in there.
Right.
And I won't stop. I won't stop. I know that I've been gone, kind of disappeared for a very long time, but
Right.
I don't see that ever happening again. I'm in a great place. I feel amazing. I'm happy. I'm at peace. I love the way my life is shaping up. So yeah, um, thank everyone who's watching. Thank you for following and for having such insightful questions as well.
For sure.
Good to see you again.
Yep.
And I'll see everyone on screen Saturday night with Lust on Lifetime.